We've got a brilliant episode lined up for you today, especially if you've ever been curious about the world of sales, what makes it tick, and why it sometimes gets such a bad reputation and can have a terrible stereotype. So I'm Laura Leyland, I'm the Managing Director of Fresh Perspective Resourcing. We are a recruitment business with a twist, but more on that later. And joining me today is Steve Sorah, the Sales and Marketing Director at Trident Utilities, who brings over 20 years of experience in the utility sector, spanning both consultancy and supplier businesses. He's got a wealth of knowledge, not just about utilities, but also about what really makes sales work, from building trust and relationships to how businesses can better support their sales teams to succeed. So in this episode, we'll be digging into why so many people shy away from sales, the myths around the profession, how businesses can get it wrong with targets and incentives, and of course, the biggest lessons Steve has learned over his career so far. So Steve, welcome to the podcast.
No, thank you.
How are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, nice journey to Chorley this morning. Yeah, very good.
Good, I'm glad. Welcome to Chorley. Welcome to Fresh HQ. And thanks so much for making time in your diary, because it sounds like you're a busy man at the moment and in demand.
Yeah, it is getting very, very busy, but that's good. I like to be busy, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, I like to be busy as well. I get into trouble when I'm not busy. I become the queen of procrastination. But yeah, so you're Sales and Marketing Director and also apparently head of speaking engagements at the moment.
It's looking that way, yes. Yeah, whether I like it or not, but yes.
So where are you speaking next week? Are you in London?
Yes, I'm at the Energy Management Summit on Monday, Tuesday next week. So I think we're first up as well Monday morning talking
crikey.
there. So yeah, probably not the ideal slot, but yeah, I'm ready for it anyway.
At least you get it out of the way.
Yes, there is that, yeah.
You set the bar high.
Well, we'll see.
And what are you talking about there?
Mainly around net zero and how the businesses that embrace net zero are actually seeing real, impactful results from that. There's a lot of myths out there that people think it's, embracing net zero is costly and unnecessary, and there's so much information that contradicts that says, businesses that are doing it are thriving, they're growing their businesses, and actually for many it's something that they have to do. There's a risk that if you stand still and bury your head and ignore it, if your competition is doing it, they're going to start growing at your expense. So there's a real need for businesses to embrace it. So that's the message I'll be taking there, as well as, of course, for the planet, it's the right thing to do.
100%.
But sometimes people need that personal incentive, and getting them to realise for their own business it's something that they need to address.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think people want to do it, but it just gets deprioritised against other business pressures. So they probably do need that incentive to kind of push them to move it up the priority list and not just keep pushing it to the next week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, spoiler alert, I don't want to give too much away about what we're going to talk about next week, but we have got some real life examples of, businesses that have embraced it and grown their business as a result, but also businesses, so to your point about those that sort of deprioritise and leave it, we've had a couple where they could potentially have lost their business if they'd not done something, because they've got a supply chain with one customer, for example, who is £200 million business. The major customer that was around 90% of their overall business and turnover suddenly turned around to them and said, what is your carbon reduction and sustainability plan? If you don't have one, we're taking our business elsewhere.
Oh my, and that happened? Or did
they so fortunately, we were already talking to them.
Oh my goodness.
And we got the knock where they were like, they were doing a bit of this is costly, perhaps we don't need to do this. We suddenly got the call, please help us quickly.
We need to do it now.
And they've done it, and that's good. So their business is thriving and surviving as a result of that. So, there is a need for people to really get on with it. Yeah.
So there's a real business need. It's not just about doing the right thing and protecting the planet and being sustainable. I'd not thought about it like that. You've sold the concept to me. I've written down net zero on my paper because I'd not thought about it like that. I mean, we plant a tree for every candidate play, so we're nearly at 800 trees. Yeah. So that's our bit for the planet so far. I do wish we'd started that metric started doing it from when we started Fresh, because it would be a nice metric as to how many people we've placed so far. But we didn't. But yeah, I'll have to catch up with you about becoming net zero.
No, that's it. And sometimes it isn't just about the net zero and sustainability message. Just basically for even smaller users of energy, just by energy efficient, they can save around 25% of the costs. And in a lot of sectors, the energy costs can be number 2 or 3 on the list of outgoings. Yeah. So actually just making that cost reduction is good for your business. So yeah, it just makes absolute sense, and it's just cutting through the other noise to get people to understand that, really.
Fab. So, I mean, you've given us a little bit of information about what you do, but do you want to introduce yourself and tell the listeners, our podcast fans out there, a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so, well, I'm Steve Sorah, as you've eloquently introduced me anyway, Sales and Marketing Director at Trident Utilities. I suppose, if I was to summarise myself, you're absolutely right. I've had over 20 years in the utilities industry, but that's been punctuated by sort of 17 years outside of that industry. So I started my career when I was like 17 in utilities, and basically then spent a good amount of time in the industry, both from consulting and in moving into supplier businesses, and then went off and did something entirely different. So working with a global US-based or a couple of global US-based organisations that were all around sales and marketing consulting, really, working with some of the world's biggest companies to transform their sales and marketing organisations, really, and helping them to grow and do things. So I've taken a lot from that, and then last year I was enticed back into the world of utilities. So so back where I started, but obviously with a, I suppose, different experience to help me along the way.
Fab. So you know a thing or two when it comes to sales and marketing?
Well, hopefully so.
You can impart some of that wisdom today.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be a poor do if I didn't by now, but yeah, hopefully.
Well, you would be the greatest, almost the greatest salesperson of all time if you didn't, because you just blagged your way through.
Well, yeah, in saying that, I'm still having to pay a mortgage and everything else, so I can't be that good, but yeah, you know.
And since you've joined Trident, have you gone through an entire brand refresh?
Yes. Yeah, and that was very much to do with the net zero message. When Trident was formed sort of 24 years ago, it was really on the back of customer service, and that's paid well for the business because they've won awards for customer service. We've got like a 98% retention rate with businesses, because once people come to us, they tend to stay because we do deliver a great service. But the world's changing, and the whole net zero message is really important, and it's important to us. So we just wanted to get that out there, that we are about, planet first. Yeah. And we're about, we're in partnership with our customers. We're not just there to, sell them services and make money. It really is about partnering with them so they can thrive and do well.
Yeah, and I think it's that attitude why because Trident and you guys and you and the rest of the team are a client of Fresh, so we've helped you grow your team across a wide array of different positions, and I think that's why we do so well together, and the work is effective and efficient, is because of that collaboration piece, because we share the same values and culture when it comes to that, and it is about a partnership. It isn't about just sending candidates to you. It's about working with you on your business plans and who's the right fit, where shall we put them, when's the right time. So I think it's a good point to mention, because I think that is so intrinsically linked to good sales.
Yeah.
Because you're not just selling, stationery, energy solutions, recruitment services. You're selling your advice, your wisdom, your thoughts, your background, your interest, empathy, and genuine care in wanting to do the right thing and achieve the best for everybody. And I think people don't necessarily think about those things when you say the word sales.
No, absolutely. And that is the key thing. It was funny, actually, in between when I left where I was and before I joined Trident, I had, it was basically someone who I used to work with as a consultant at the company I was at previously, who was also, he's a C-level executive, sits on numerous boards, and he called me up for that reason, because he said, look, just before you start your new job, can you do me a favour? Do a bit of consulting with my guys. And he's basically chairman of a new startup business, that really, really good business, but everyone there was basically engineering background and really didn't like sales. They saw it as a dirty word. They didn't want to sort of even call themselves as salespeople, even though, if they don't sell anything, they don't have a business to exist.
It's probably really the most important part of business, because without selling anything to deliver or make to a client, you don't need anything else.
No, that's it. We've all got to survive. We've got to grow our businesses, and we've got to, keep moving forward. And again, it's about, we have a responsibility to all the people who we employ, because if we don't bring anything in, then we can't pay the wages, and we want them to thrive and do well and develop and grow. And occasionally you'll get people who will even outgrow your business and move on to something else. But the point is, we've got a responsibility to everyone, so we do need to sell. And I think, the key thing with that, when I went in to see this business, what was funny was afterwards, I had a chat with them. I told them a couple of stories really about how I'd got into sales, and one or two instances where people didn't look kindly on sales, which I can go into separately. But and the chairman phoned me up afterwards, and he said, you know what? He said, I've been running this company for 18 months, and the chat you had with them for 2 hours about that, you achieved more than I've done in the 18 months. He said they're now actually calling it sales when they bring business in, whereas they didn't even do that before.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And why? So what was the main issue that they had with it, and what do you think were the few, the 1, 2, or 3 main things that you said that changed their perception?
I think it was just, getting them to understand that sales for me is about delivering value. Yeah, and I get it. There are unscrupulous people out there that give sales and give lots of industries and lots of sectors really,
including energy and recruitment, interestingly.
Absolutely. But the bottom line, and the way I've always seen sales, is that you're bringing value to someone. You're actually doing them a favour. Sometimes they might not realise it. Sales is sort of the art of persuasion. It is about getting people to understand what they do need. But the approach I've always taken, and I would only ever work for someone that has the same sort of ethics around it, is that you are delivering that value for someone. We're business to business, so we're only about helping businesses thrive and succeed and grow. Sometimes they might not understand that they need that particular service or solution. Getting them to understand that actually this is what the impact will be on your business when you go forward with this. That's the key thing. And so again, that's the message I gave them, that it's about, it isn't about selling something to people that they don't want and don't need. It's about delivering value and really helping them succeed. And I honestly can say, if someone doesn't need something, they will not be sold it by me.
Yeah, don't sell it them.
No.
And I think that's the issue, isn't it? That's where this negative stereotype comes to, this hardcore, aggressive, pushy sales tactics where people don't listen and they almost railroad and bully people into buying something that they don't need. And, and it's when people used to do door knocking for energy. That was a big problem, I think. And it's just forcing things on or making people think, especially vulnerable people that might be more open to persuasion or manipulation in its most negative form. And that's what people think sales is. When people ring you up to sell you PPI, or what else do they ring you up about? I don't know. But you get calls and they don't listen. And now they're even automated calls.
Yeah.
It's not even a real person.
No.
Wow, how lazy. And I think that's where the misinterpretation comes from. But you said the word helping, and I wrote it down because that's genuinely what I believe sales is. It's about helping people.
Yeah.
We are B2C and B2B as a recruitment business. Obviously, we support our clients that are businesses. But genuinely, I'm not into just selling them someone, make me sound like madam, selling them someone who doesn't fit the business, the culture, the values, or could do the job. It's about the right thing, and it's genuinely helping them understand what do they need, which is what should be the beginning part of it, and then helping them, showing them why we would be able to help them with that and how it would work, and then obviously selling them our service. But what underpins it all is helping, like you say, delivering value. And then with candidates, it's the same thing. We don't work for them. We don't get paid by candidates. We're still helping them.
Yeah.
Like if we speak to a candidate and would tell us something, and we're like, that doesn't fit with the job that we've got. Like, well, actually, I don't think this is right for you, but we've got your details. We'll be in touch. Instead of carrying on going, it'll be fine. We'll just get you an interview. And this person ends up in the interview, accidentally get the job, and then we're like, oh, I don't want this.
No.
It's not useful to anybody.
No, and again, that also goes back to the partnership thing we talked about, because if you put someone into a role and they somehow get in there and they're not appropriate, then are people going to come back to you when they leave after 3 months, or they have to ask them to leave? So it is about that long-term partnership, isn't it? It's about
trust,
getting the right people in there so that, like I say, you're building that partnership and that trust.
Do you think that the reputation, a stereotype of sales has changed whilst you've been in it? Has it got better? Has it got worse? Has it stayed the same?
Yeah, difficult one. It's funny, actually. One of the stories I told this company when I went in to do that bit of consulting for them was one where in my previous role, I used to travel a lot. I was going all over the world to see our customers and things like that. And I was in the taxi to the airport one day, and the taxi driver said to me, he said, I've taken you to the airport a couple of times recently, and you're on business again, are you? I said, yeah. He said, so what is it you do? So I explained to him, and he turned around and he said, oh, I could never be in sales. I'm too honest.
Oh, my word. And therein lies the problem.
Exactly. So I mean, my response to him was, well, first of all, it was none taken, and then went on to explain how we're all in sales. Every single one of us sells all of the time. And I went on to him. He was a lovely guy, to be fair. And I explained to him, I said, look, you yourself are selling right now. He was one that, when he picked me up in the taxi, he was always in a smart suit, shirt and tie, because he's selling the service. He wants to look good.
But and selling himself.
Exactly. And then I pointed out to him, I said, we do sales every single day of our lives, whether we like it or not. And like I say, it is about persuasion. And sometimes I said, you might be sat at home, and I did know he had a wife because he'd mentioned it previously. I said, you might be sat at home with your wife, and one Friday evening you're thinking, well, let's have a takeout for our evening meal. And you want Indian, and your wife wants Chinese. And then you might say something like, yeah, but you really love the poppadoms from the Indian. You know,
sales negotiation kicking in.
It's about, you know what I mean? You drop in something which is about persuasion, and I said, so you're probably doing that all the time. And he went, oh, okay. And it started to sink a little bit. And then I told him about, children are real good examples of natural sales negotiators. I've been in shops where I've heard kids say, Daddy, can I have some sweets? And no, not today. Oh, please, if you get me some, I'll be good. So they're trying to exchange value with you straight away and negotiating.
Trading.
So, yeah. So I think...
Maybe we should start them young, because people don't figure out when they're younger. I mean, maybe not quite as young as what you're talking about now. No one starts off a career says, I want to be in sales. No. Very few people.
No.
But yeah, so yeah, we are. Yeah, kids sell themselves. We sell ourselves and negotiate all the time, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your business is a great example where I don't think there's anyone in your organisation that has sales as a title.
No.
But you're all selling all the time. You're selling because you're promoting your business all the time, just doing things like this. You're on LinkedIn. But then your team, when we work with them, they do such a good job. Just by doing a good job, that is selling. And even people in accounts, sometimes they have to chase money, but you want them customers to remain, so they won't be nasty. They'll be nice when they speak to people about the fact that they still owe you money.
Yeah.
And it is, so we're all in sales. Make no mistake about that. Some people really don't want to be, but they probably are.
Yeah, I'm sat here smiling because it's the same conversation I've had with every single member of the team out there when I'm like, right guys, let's help with sales, let's help with lead gen, and like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not a salesperson. I'm like, you do it every day. But even the taxi driver, by the nature of him recognizing that you've used him multiple times, he's always to the airport, he's remembered that it's always business, and he's then communicated that back to you. He's building and deepening the relationship he's got with you, so you're more likely to use him again.
Yeah.
That in itself, that in a nutshell, is what sales is.
Yeah.
It's not just that first touch point, the first sale. It's every single touch point that leads up to that, and every single touch point after that, because even your account managers, and like you say, that your operations team, the delivery team who deal with the customers once you've won them, they are still selling themselves in the business every day to keep them.
Yeah.
And we do it in interviews. We're selling ourselves, or if you're on the other side of the table, as we've been recently, we're still selling ourselves, but selling the businesses and the opportunities. My recruitment team are selling candidates to clients and clients to candidates themselves, to both parties. We sell ourselves when we meet new people, romantically or business-wise. You're on a date, you're selling yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people don't realise that. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I would imagine that a lot of people might take away from this chat today, is that we are all salespeople, just some of us do it professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of us
get paid for it.
Some of us have it in our job titles, and some people don't. But
Yeah,
we're all
or our
doing
job
it.
description somewhere.
Yeah. No.
I'm just thinking what to ask, because we'll kind of just ask the questions that I've got. But then, why else? So we've got the negative stereotype of what people perceive sales to be. I think they think Wolf of Wall Street. Everyone brings up, car salespeople.
Yeah.
Which is really mean, because I've just bought a new car and he was great. He wasn't pushy or aggressive. He was lovely.
Yeah.
Kept in touch gently, answered my questions, built up a relationship, remembered that I hurt my knee, asked about it. It was a great experience, and he sold me a car. So, but again, they're all put in the same, tarred with the same brush.
Yeah.
So there's the stereotype of what people perceive it to be. But do you think people have heard bad stories from people who've done sales, or they've tried sales and hated it? And do you think, obviously not everybody can do it professionally and doesn't want to do it, because it can be quite pressured. You need to be resilient and tenacious. You've got to be goal orientated and happy to work to KPIs and targets and be held accountable to that. So it isn't for everybody in a professional sense. But do you think it's the fault of businesses sometimes that unintentionally or intentionally set sales teams up to fail with wrong incentives, the mismatched target and unrealistic expectations and negative messaging?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, and you can span that across different roles. You can look at an example for logistics companies. Not their salespeople, as they would put it, their drivers. They would set KPIs of delivering so many parcels within a certain time frame, and that's why people then complain that they've just found a parcel chucked over the fence and
left outside in the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in my green bin, I had one the other day. But it's more when my rubbish goes. At least put it in the paper bin.
Yeah. No, so this is it. So again, you're absolutely spot on. It is about the KPIs and the targets people are given. They always drive behaviour. Yeah. So you have to take a careful look at, what are your goals as a business, and feed them down, but look at them sort of ethically and properly, and always think that whatever you're asking someone to do is going to drive certain behaviours. And again, look, I get it, in sales, sometimes you do have to, like you say, you have to be a bit tenacious, because, like I say, sales is about the art of persuasion. It's also about creating urgency. There's lots of stats out there and research, but one of the stats that always stuck with me is that typically 60% of sales conversations end up in no decision at all. So people think the direct competition in their market is their competition. No, the competition is actually just lethargy. People just doing nothing and going,
oh my God, I never thought about it like
it's
that.
Actually, that's interesting, but we don't need to do it right now. So good salespeople will create that urgency and create that need. But as I said before, it is about articulating the value that someone gets and the business impact. So if you do that well, it's why would we wait? If this is going to improve our business, why do we just put this on the back shelf for 6 months or 12 months? Do it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a good salesperson can get that message across. But as you say, you know, there are businesses that are just out. We want to make money, whatever. We'll sell whatever, and we'll drive our salespeople to hit ridiculous targets. And you know, that's certainly not what we're in. But unfortunately, that is what drives that bad reputation.
And my experience of working with recruitment agencies was like that. And I don't know what it's like now because I've not worked in a recruitment agency for a long time. Well over 10 years because I'm fresh as 9 and then I did 3 years in-house. Like 12 years since I've worked in-house for an agency. But I moved around a lot, 7 times in 6 years because I was asked to hit crazy KPIs and sometimes just for the sake of making them.
Yeah.
So make 50 or 100 calls a day. I'm like, but then they implemented a call counter in one position, and the lady next to me was just ringing her own mobile, and putting it down, getting a voicemail, and I'm like, well, she's hitting a call target, well, she's not actually selling anything.
No.
So she's hitting that KPI, great. Whereas I never hit my call number.
Yeah.
But I always hit my financial target, and they couldn't. I remember that conversation with that company, and I left because he's like, well, you've got to hit your calls. I'm like, but I'm hitting my financial targets I hit every month, every year. I over exceed it. Surely I'm doing it in my way, my style. He's working and bringing on good customers and delivering what I need to deliver. It's like, yeah, but you're not hitting all your KPIs. You're not sending out enough CVs. You're not making enough calls. I'm like, but I'm placing candidates, and we couldn't agree. He wanted me to hit all the KPIs so that it was an example to everybody else. I'm like, surely we need to look at what's the outcome here? What are all these KPIs designed to achieve? What's the main goal?
Yeah.
But then you're sending CVs. So the big issues people have with recruitment agencies is sometimes that they just send rubbish CVs, and like, I have no idea why they sent it. I'm like, I know, because they've got a KPI to maybe send 3-5 CVs every single day of a working week. And if they don't hit that KPI, they get dragged over hot coals. So they will just send speculative CVs or anything to you so they don't get fired.
Yeah. No, and it's like I was saying, it's about having the right KPIs, because like the instance you said where a colleague was just phoning her own mobile, that is a KPI driving exactly the wrong, it drives a behaviour, but you need to be sure when you're working out what KPIs you need, it's got to drive the right behaviour.
Yeah.
Or else it's pointless.
Yeah.
And actually can have a negative effect as well.
On so many people, like I get calls now, or the team get calls, and like, that was a weird sales call, wasn't very good. But I'm like, but they probably not feel confident. They probably just need to get through their number of calls. So they've spoken to you, they've gone, asked you want it, you said no, all right, see you later. Not the best of sales calls, but they've done it, and it's a tick off their list. But again, it's not driving the right behaviour. It's not giving a good example to whoever they've rang, me or the team or you or anybody else. They've not achieved anything from it, but they've hit their KPIs.
Yeah.
So they can say, oh, I've hit all my call stats today, amazing. But then they'll only buy themselves a certain amount of time when the question is asked, right, you're hitting your KPIs, but you're not bringing in the sales. What's going on? In some situations, like in mine and your businesses, we're like, what's happening here? Talk us through it. What's going on? Let's see if we can help. But in some businesses, they'll just be out the door. You're not hitting. It's been 3 months. See you later. Put them on garden leave.
Yeah.
So it's really sad because sales is so important, and it can be so amazing when it's done well and it works for everybody involved. But so much of the industry and the people that have done it and failed or hate it or think they hate it, it makes me sad because it's just they've worked with the wrong companies, or they've had a bad experience, or they've seen the negatives.
Yeah. And it's like with anything, isn't it? If you have a bad experience, everyone knows about it. You tell everyone.
Yeah.
If you have a good experience, oh, that was good. Yeah, that was great. And you might even keep it to yourself, or you might tell 1 or 2 people. Yeah. But everyone knows about the bad experiences. Yeah. So that's why
people love to write reviews about bad experiences.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why that sometimes shapes people's thinking, when actually there's lots of, I'm not just talking about me and Trident, there are lots of really good salespeople out there that are about partnering and delivering value to people and helping them thrive.
Yeah, 100%. What would your response be to maybe not the taxi driver, but maybe the taxi driver or other people who say I'm not a salesperson or I could never do sales? I know we've touched on it obviously that everyone's a salesperson, but how if you were if you interviewed someone for a different job at Trident and you were like, actually, do you know what? They would be amazing in the sales team, but they've not applied to that job. I mean, I'd applied to a different job with a recruiter when I started. And he said, have you ever thought about recruitment? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And he's like, well, you've got a really good set of skills. And 18 years later, I've got my own business and it's going well.
Yeah.
But I would not have applied to a recruiter job. And I suppose it's a sales role. So how would you explain to someone that you think they would be good at it and they could be a salesperson?
Yeah, I think in them instances, and I have done this with my own daughter, not that she's gone into sales, but I gave her a really good example of where I saw her
she
doing
completely
sales.
ignored you.
Oh yeah, she's set up her own business. She's a personal trainer now, but
She
again,
still needs to sell herself.
She's owning a business, so she is selling herself.
Yeah.
But in that instance, so giving people examples that give them the confidence that says, no, this is when you did it, and that the example. So my daughter, when I think she was about 17, she was working in a local shoe shop, and myself and my wife went in one day, and it was where we live, the population is of a certain age, it's a bit of a retirement town and things like that, and she was chatting with this older lady, and she immediately pointed to my wife, who obviously was like 20 years junior to the person she was talking to, and said, oh, that's my mum there. She's the one who also really likes them shoes that you were trying. And the woman's like, oh, her eyes lit up. And so I pointed out to my daughter, I said, that was a brilliant sales tactic. And she's like, it wasn't a tactic, it was just true. But she didn't see that just by having that conversation just made this woman feel really good about that purchase.
Yeah, and not everybody would do that, and that's the mark of a good salesperson. Yeah. It's that natural instinct to communicate in an engaging way and make people feel good, help people feel happy, fix a problem.
Yeah.
Help someone get to where they need to be, where you can see. So you'll see that those shoes were great for that lady, and she's not even subconsciously giving her an example as to why she should, without going, you need to buy these shoes and you need to buy them now. She'd have been out the door in half a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that probably leads me on to that. How you would inspire someone to become a salesperson, like what kind of natural talent, attributes, skills, interests? What's the package? What does that look like in a person? You're like, actually, do you know what? That would be good as a career choice for sales.
I suppose there's a couple of things in there. I think one is actually just naturally wanting to spend time with people, speaking to different people.
Does help.
Because in sales, you tend to be out and about, talking to different people all the time, talking to your customers and your prospects. So naturally wanting to have them conversations is good. And actually wanting to do well, as in not just for yourself, but wanting the people that you're selling to do well, and naturally just wanting to, engage and provide something that's of value. Because I think for me that's often a big win for me in sales, where you suddenly see this business I've worked with in the past has grown by 50% on the back of me working with the sales team and things like that. So that is really encouraging for me and really motivates
Pride,
me.
Isn't it?
Of course it is. And so having that wanting to do well for others and not just yourself.
Which is the opposite of what people expect from a salesperson.
Yeah.
Stereotypically.
Yeah, exactly. And it is that. It is the one. Now, of course, some of the things that people don't like, but you mentioned earlier, and it is right, that tenaciousness, that being persistent sometimes, because you can have a great conversation with someone who says, no, this is really good, we'll definitely need to do that. And then time moves on, they get other priorities, and suddenly the conversation goes cold. And you have to keep in their mind. But you just remember, like I said before, you're doing it for their benefit. Yes, it is for yours, because obviously usually you will get some commission or reward for selling something, but it is for their, as long as you're selling the right thing to the right person at the right time, it's for their benefit. So you're doing them a favour. And the amount of times over the years I've seen feedback on salespeople where, you know, customers have come to me and said, this person sold to me, and I really want to thank them for their persistence, because we were umming and ahhing about doing this, and now we've done it, we're reaping the rewards. Yeah. And that's when it really counts, you know. So tenaciousness doesn't sound like a great quality sometimes, and it's not something people are comfortable with, but actually it's really important, and it's still of value to people. It's still, you know, it is a positive quality.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate it, because sometimes if someone's coming to see me about something that we need, and I've given them positive signals, but then I leave that meeting and all hell breaks loose. I get distracted. We've got to go to meetings, and then I have to do something else, and then so I appreciate people gently and nicely and positively staying in touch with me, not harassing me, and ringing me every day about the same thing. But just gently, you know, just pushing, you know, just dropping you a line, a gentle nudge, or asking, or saying, I've seen your LinkedIn post, I really liked it. Just it reminds me, brings it back to the top. So I appreciate that, because I forget sometimes, or like you said, I'm that person. And so that's what I think of when I'm doing it for other people. And I think tenacity can be seen as a negative, but for me, sometimes it's just not giving up. People think like a dog with a bone is what they say when it comes to tenacity, but it is a positive. It depends what the situation is for the person that's on the receiving end of the tenacity, because people, depend on how they're feeling or what they're dealing with, persistence could be pushiness.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I know, it's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, again, if you're pushing something which is all about you and not for the benefit of the person that you're trying to sell it to, then it's not a good quality, and it gets perceived in that way. But if you are trying to do the right thing and you're helping them, helping their business, then it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, I got some feedback recently from a client about one of my team. Shout out to Tom. And his feedback was that he really enjoyed working with him, and he was pushy, but pushy in the right amount, and he really appreciated it because he kept the recruitment project on track. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And then one of the team yesterday got a bit of, not yesterday, day before, got a bit of feedback that she was being pushy, and it really upset her. But the next day, they hired the person that Danielle was pushing.
Right.
And they're really happy. So it wasn't a negative, but Danielle interpreted it like that, and it really upset her, because she's the least pushy person ever. Everything is done for the right reasons, and she's so lovely. But she never had that feedback, and she interpreted it negatively, but they've hired the candidate and they love them and they're well happy.
Yeah, and sometimes just making sure people understand why you're being pushy or tenacious or whatever term we want to use.
It's how you do it, isn't it?
Because sometimes, you know, in our industry, there have been deadlines around compliance. So sometimes you just have to move quickly, and making sure people are aware of that is really important. And again, in this instance for yourselves, that candidate could have just gone somewhere else if they didn't make a quick decision.
Yeah. That's how people lose candidates.
It's in their favour that they make a decision quickly.
Yeah. I do set and it's about setting expectations, isn't it? So you couldn't say, well, the deadline for compliance is tomorrow. You'd have had to tell them earlier, and then you keep reminding them about the deadline. So there's a reason, a genuine reason for being tenacious. And I suppose with those, I at the very beginning explained that, you know, we work with urgency and pace, not to rush it and fill it quickly with anybody, but so we don't lose candidates. So it's the expectation piece. So they understand why you're going to be in touch. Are you telling them, oh, this is what I'm going to do. If I've not heard, I'll be in touch here. And it's just how you go about doing that, I think, when we agree on that, definitely. And looking back, my final question, I'm just checking the time, like, wow, we've been talking for ages. It's flown by because we've been enjoying ourselves. But looking back over your career, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned about sales, if it's not something we've already touched on?
It probably, I think it's perhaps not so much a lesson, but something I'd advise people to do. Sometimes be bold, and you know, if you think something's not right or you want to articulate it in a certain way. So, and the reason I say it, so when I suppose the first time I ever got into sales, which was inadvertently, so we
all inadvertently get into sales, don't we? Fall into it.
Yeah, well, so what happened was my first role in an energy consultancy, as I am now, I'd been there, I think, 12, 13 years, and I was, you know, a senior account manager looking after our top accounts and things like that, and we were purchasing energy. So I would go to our tendering team and say, you know, what's it looking like on this tender for these customers? And this particular supplier kept coming up as being the best price. And every time they said to me, but we don't know enough about them. We're not going to place business with them because we don't know if we can trust them or rely on them or anything. I was like, okay. And then I saw this same supplier business advertising for salespeople, and they were having interviews at the Tickle Trout Hotel not far from here. So I put my name down and went along, and I went into this interview, and I said, you know, he sat me down and says, oh, why are you interested in this role? I said, I'm not. I said, I'm really sorry, I'm probably wasting your time. He went, okay, go on then. And I said, look, I explained the situation, what I'd experienced where I am, and I said, you probably do need salespeople, but what you also need is someone to work with all these third parties as energy consultants all up and down the country who are probably not placing business with you because they don't trust you and they don't know you. You need someone to manage that process. And they're like, oh, okay, but that's not what we're advertising. I said, no, I get that, and I've got a good job, I'm earning a salary, and I've got 2 young children, so I'm not going to jump to a commission-only sales role with you, but I wanted to let you know, and that was it. So the end to that story is they phoned me up 3 months later and said, right, we're ready for you now, when can you start? And they gave me that role of managing third-party sales. Goodness. So that was how I got into sales, but it was, like I say, so not so much a lesson for me, I just sort of did it at the time and didn't really think about it, but I think sometimes being a little bit bold and going out there and changing the narrative and actually saying, yeah, you want to talk to this customer about this or whatever it is, and if you feel the need to articulate something else, something that's important, do it, and that can change things.
Yeah, I love that. One of my biggest, the saying, I suppose, that I probably live my life to is, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
And it's similar, isn't it? If you don't say something, you won't ever change. I suppose is the tweak to that in line with what you've just said. But yeah, I totally agree. You've got to take a leap, haven't you? And you've got to take risks. We have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, because apparently that's where the magic happens. And it's true.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Brill. Well, I've loved that. We've just got our fresh or stale round, which is 5 things, but although I have added a 6 based on something that you've just said, all you need to do is tell me whether you think it's still fresh and fabulous, or if they're stale, and ideally why. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Okay, the Ryder Cup.
Well, that's fresh because it's coming up in a couple of weeks, so it's definitely fresh, and I will be doing my best to watch it, albeit amongst my busy diary, which you mentioned earlier. Yeah,
yeah, you might have to record some of it.
Yes, definitely.
Door knocking.
I think it is stale because, again, all those stereotypes we talk about and the fact that people just resent it. I mean, we have where we live, there's a street WhatsApp group, and when certain people are wandering down the road knocking, all of a sudden you get a warning like, don't answer the door.
Sending up the smoke signal.
Yeah, so I would say that's definitely stale for that reason.
It is, because it just feels like it's such, even now when people ring me instead of message, when I'm expecting something written, I'm like, oh, it's a lot. So someone coming to your house and just being there face to face unannounced, I think, like, even my dad calls round and he doesn't tell me he's coming, and I'm like in the middle of doing something, or I'm like, oh, and obviously I let him in and make him a brew and we have a chat, but it's that interruption. Like, obviously it's really positive because it's my dad and I love him, but yeah, someone just showing up and trying to sell you something is really weird.
Yeah.
But it used to be so common.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my problem is I try and be polite with people, and then hang on, 10 minutes have gone now, and I've just said no.
Because I think, do you know, they're trying to sell me something, and I feel for them because I'm a salesperson. Yeah, my job title is managing director, but I am a salesperson through and through, and I feel for them. So I want to let them do the thing, and then but then you end up letting them talk because they don't stop.
No,
because they've learnt this script. And no one ever listens to them.
No.
So when you listen to them, they just carry on, and you're like, oh, I'm really sorry, but it's no, but thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Blackpool FC.
It's a tough one because obviously for me, as a Blackpool fan, it's definitely fresh. But yeah, the season's not going that well.
Okay.
And the cricket season is now coming to a close, which has been disappointing.
Oh
so,
no.
So
fresh.
I need Blackpool FC to give me some joy in my life now.
You do. We need to tell them. So Blackpool FC fresh to you, but a stale season so far.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
LinkedIn in mails.
Definitely fresh.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I say it's very fresh for me is very pertinent because today I'm just about to sign our new agreement for the Sales Navigator licenses for our team.
Oh, wow.
So we're moving forward with it. We did a pilot for the last 6 months and, seeing the value in it. So we're going to continue to do that.
Okay, well, I would love to talk to you more about that off microphone. I was going to say off camera, but we're not being filmed. Pineapple on pizza.
It's not for me.
No, same.
Yeah, a definite stale for me.
It's fruit on a pizza.
Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There'll be uproar, people listening. And then I've added one, and added 6, commission-only sales jobs.
I think it's stale.
Yeah.
The reason, I can see the value in it. Some people thrive on it. Some people want it.
Fewer people now than previous.
Yeah, but I think, we talked before about KPIs and driving the wrong behaviours. I think that does drive the wrong behaviours because people have a need to survive and a need to earn money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if that's their only income, it's potentially going to drive those wrong behaviours.
Yeah, totally agree. And then from a recruitment perspective, if people will say they're interested if they've not got a job. So they'll be like, yeah, I'll do a commission-only sales position. But then if it's tough and a permanent one comes up where they're going to offer them a salary, they'll always drop out the process or leave.
Yeah.
So it's definitely stale from me as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's a wrap.
No,
Thank
brilliant.
you so much.
Thank you. No, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Right, well, thanks, guys. Make sure you follow us. Leave a review, please. 5 stars, obviously. Our website is www.fp-resourcing.co.uk. You can find both me and Steve on LinkedIn, Laura Leyland, and Steve Sorah, Sorah. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next time.